Oh, maybe we're live on Zoom. We're probably live on
YouTube.
Oh, it says not, it doesn't say that yet on my side, but maybe maybe it's premature.
We are live. I can see the red button.
Okay. Turn that off. Get back over to here.
Start again.
Voila. Hi, everybody. Happy. Oh, hang on. Let me record this. Now we're ready. Hi, everybody. Happy Thursday. We're a day early, but not a dollar short, talking about sovereign money creation with Randall Kaiser. I am Leah Mattinson. Hope you're all doing great today. Randall, it's looking like something's changed in the background of your life.
It's magic.
It's magic.
You know, we haven't really had any frost here yet, but the trees know.
Yes, they do.
Cool, eh?
It's very cool. So what have you been up to this week? I've been watching a few of your videos and had to laugh last night because I'm pretty sure you probably owe me probably about $500 for all the swearing.
Yeah, but that's only when I'm swearing on your show.
Oh.
I can swear on my own show. I'm sorry. Yeah, it got away on me yesterday. I'm not sure why, but it was just what it was, you know. But yeah, it's been a beautiful week, and I wanted to I wanted to say a little bit more on the stay on track with what I do today. I want to stay with that because it's you know, there's so many beautiful people out there that are in the throes, I'm going to call it, because I think of it as more of a passionate change and ascension that we're going through than a battle. So they're in the throes, right, of this situation. Sasha Stone being one of them, and we wrote back to him this morning a little bit, and I said, you know, I got to stay in my role, right? And he knows. So, you know, we each have our part, and you're playing your part, and every single human is playing their part in this ascension that has already happened, and we're just surrendering to it and catching up. That's the way it is. And you know, the insanity that's going on the earth is just to try and throw us off from our path, which is to surrender to the ascension that's already happened. That's all there is to it. Yeah. And like I say, those that are in the throes of that aspect of it from their work and their roles, I give them nothing but my kudos. You know, these are people that are mentors to me, for Christ's sake. So how can I not? But, you know, I have to just stay focused, and I have to keep telling my story, because it is, it's like sometimes when they have these false flag events, I don't want to consider what's going on false flag completely, but a lot of it is. And then there's stuff going on in the background, as you know. And in the background is this huge shift on the monetary side. And I want to share more about that.
Yes, go for it. Let's hear about it, because there has been lots of shifts this past week, even in the last 24 hours. So I'm aware of a number of them, but let's hear from your perspective what it is that you've been hearing.
Well, hearing and participating in, Leah, for a long time. And, you know, I want to, first I'm going to talk a little bit about the October 1st and the full moon, okay? Because there were and still are lingering factions of people, not one organization, not you know, one deep state, any of that kind of language, but factions that play games, right, with at these monetary levels, at these high monetary levels, because they're all very wealthy people and they don't need any more wealth. So what do? They play games with the mind, and they go into these mystical realms, and I call them covens. And you saw my video yesterday what I think of them, but you know, I won't go there today because you're a lady, and I'm not going to, you know, do that kind of stuff as much today. As much, I said. Did I say as much?
Yeah, well, so yeah, I'm a lady, Randall, but if you think I'm naive to the fact that there's these spiritual things that happen in the equinoxes, and also at the end of this month is a big celebration. We'll call it a celebration, which we've turned into something it's very funny what we do with these light and dark ceremonies and rituals and stuff, but I'm very aware of it. So it's nothing, it's not about being a lady. It's about being a human being and understanding. And I do.
Thank you. But you'll know what I mean by that when I say that I'm not going to put the camera down by my ass and say, I fought on you again today. You see, that's what
In
I
your
meant.
general direction. Yeah, I'd
When I
appreciate
did my,
that.
see what I mean? I was talking about that. So
That's part. Yes, exactly.
I did that on my own yesterday,
Right.
as in, I fought on your covens. But then I quickly, which I'm going to quickly do now, say, I love you. And that's how we're going to solve this, okay? By infiltrating these mystical, spiritual, if they want to call it that, coven meetings with our love, okay? And I'm on a fast right now, so my pineal gland is wide open and my imagination is fucking rocking. Excuse me, but I'm going to drop one there.
Cha-ching.
So when you do that, when you fast and clean your pineal gland, I mean, honestly, lots of different methods too, Leah, of doing this, but it really is good for me. And it's just downloads of clarity. It's downloads of messages from God. It's all kinds of beautiful stuff that happens to you. So in that, I've learned about what I'll refer to as astral travel. Other people may have different language for it if you like, but through heavy, deep meditation, personally,
Mhm.
I can move myself into other people's minds. And I don't do that without permission with people. Okay. And I know lots of people that do this and I've learned from them. But I'll do it with a coven because I know that it's something's going on there that's not good for all. So I'll fucking infiltrate, okay? And I'll come in there with my mind. And I'm there right now. I'm going to do it while we're here because I can do it whenever the hell I want.
Right.
And I'm going to bring love. And I'm going to, like I said in my little video, you got a hood over your face in your little coven, you're still going to feel me pull that hood back and give you a kiss on the cheek. Okay. Because that's what I'm here for. I'm going to show you guys love, show you love for all, show you love for humanity. And the fact that you laughed and you played these games long enough. Now we're here with God. So I don't care who you are. If it's Donald J. Trump talking on some stupid, ridiculous fucking interview with a half-dead idiot. I mean, Trump didn't lay anything on the line there, and there may be some cue drops or something that people are going to come out of that with. But the few seconds that I listened to it, he wasn't telling any truth. He was just playing a game. So, as I said yesterday, Donald Trump, when you're done with your job, with your cleaning up of the swamp, and you're trying to redeem the idea and the word government, okay? Because that's all they're trying to do is redeem that bullshit word, okay? When you're done with that, fuck off and get out of God's way. Am I God? Yes. Are you God, Leah? Yes. Is everyone else that has that feeling inside of them who's become Christ conscious God? Yes. And we're coming. And we're not stopping Donald Trump, not stopping with an idea of, oh, well, we still have $21 trillion in debt. Fuck off. Okay. Again, debt is an illusion, nothing but. And that is the biggest illusion on this planet that's put us, well, maybe not the biggest, there's lots of them, but it is the one in my world that's put us into a place of feeling guilty, of screwing around with our lives, screwing around with our personal karma. You know me, I don't have a lot of sympathy for adults because most of it, what we've done to ourselves is karmic related. Okay, I thought for myself, I was a capitalist. Do I regret it? No. Do I want to go back there in a conscientious manner? Yes. Do I want to change my thoughts from self to all? Yes. And I've done that through subconscious training. Okay, and I'm not going to stop because I'm not fucking perfect yet, and I'm going to continue with that kind of subconscious training of my mind. So there's a little bit to start this show off.
Right. So I can't remember how much of a fine it was for every swear word. Was it $100? So that's $300. Cha-ching. This is why I do this show, folks.
See? A conscientious capitalist right
A
there.
conscientious capitalist. Well, yeah, and so for anyone who's thinking that's woo woo, you can check back to the human mind and the human being has been able to do the stuff that you're referring to forever. So it's not new. It's not a new technology. It's been available. It's available to everybody. Everybody can do it. And astral projection or seeing what's going on in another room or influencing other people has been very well studied. And also, if you're going, not true is true, you can go and check out MK Ultra. Even just type that in and watch a couple of, there was a recent one that was pretty comprehensive from the History Channel on MK Ultra. So for those of you who don't have any frame of reference for what we're talking about when we refer to this whole astral travel, blah, blah, it's been studied and researched and used against us. Go figure. So we can harness that energy and that knowledge and use it for our best and highest good. And of course, for the best and highest good of everyone else. And I agree with you. We're here not to suffer. We're here to have a good time, to be creating and enjoying and be a dreamer and be able to execute the things that we have in our dreamscape, whether that's something that's a long-term dream or a short-term dream or something you woke up with that morning, like you wanted to go pick your tomatoes and make salsa sauce. And then it just happened today. Guess what's on my radar today? Salsa sauce. There you go. So I could get stuck on Facebook trying to convince other people about things, or I could make salsa sauce.
Like for a bed under a great big juicy ribeye steak. Is that what your salsa sauce is for?
Right. Exactly. Could be. I don't have an aversion to that. That's for sure.
I'll be there. I just don't know when, because I don't know what that word means even. I'll be there now.
I'll be there right now.
You'll be there you'll know when I'm there, because it'll be now.
Yeah. You can just cast yourself right here, right now. Hey, did you just kiss my cheek, you brat? I didn't even have my hood on. Hang on a minute. Let me get a different jacket.
So perfect. As we move on from the mystical or the woo-woo side of that, then we move into the media side, which is why Leah Mattinson is here on this planet at this time, this plane of there she is, see? And it's to take it to the next level of bringing it into the 3D, which is media, okay? Mm-hmm. And again, have we been indoctrinated with media? I mean, anybody that's watching this knows that already, so we don't even go there. The television is to tell you a vision, it's to indoctrinate you, it's to program you into things. So we all know that. So we're doing that now. We're programming back. And am I trying to program you and MK Ultra you into something? No, I'm just trying to tell you a story that is my reality, that is my business, and that I'm here to give you these messages. And if you take even one tiny bit of that, or if you share this, I want you all to share it, but that's my ego saying that. But take one little bit of what I'm saying and add that to your story and create your own universe. And that universe being good for all, then the multiverse just expands. And that's what's already happened, but we're just slowly, one at a time, surrendering to it, okay? One at a time. And some of us have to go through our job to get there. And that job may be more revealing. It may be more testament. It may be more justice, or it may be more banking, which is what I do. Okay. So go ahead, Leah. And then
banking is so important, though, because it is really the transparency in banking is a huge reason why humanity, the human race, the world right now is struggling with resolving almost anything, is because there's such a lack of transparency. And so for people to have control over the rest of their life is next to impossible because there's no transparency in the money, in the money system. So the transparency is missing. How do you say no to vaccines? How do you say no to the crazy laws in some countries that say that children, it's okay to abuse children without transparency and money, without being resourced, without having those basic needs met, food, shelter, clothing. How does one do that? So it does all come back to sovereign money creation. It all does come back to being resourced, and resourced from source is, you know, part and parcel of that. But we live here in this physical body. So we have to be nourished. We can last about 3 days without water and about, 3 months without food. Some people maybe a little longer. Hang on, let me check.
No,
But-
that's right. I mean, but you know, the you said something about source there, and I'll bring it to the word God. God didn't leave us. Source didn't leave us with lack. Source and God left us with abundance of everything, including the idea of money. Okay. It's humans that get involved in the limitations. It's a corporate language, you know, the limit and the corporate and that kind of stuff. So it's organizations that definitely manipulated and exploited. They never controlled ever. Okay, Leah, that's the one word I don't like to use, because if they had controlled, you and I wouldn't be sitting here, right? We couldn't be.
Let's
They
talk a
didn't
little bit
control
though, because I know this story, but maybe you could share the story a little bit about when did the great duping actually happen? When did the duping, like in history, what's sort of the age time? Because some people think, I think people think that the duping just recently happened, that it's just been like since 2013 or, whatever number people throw out. But the actual duping, the hijacking of the money happened when?
Okay, there's always been different aspects of it throughout history, and we don't really know what history is, so I shouldn't even say that, because we've been lied to about every bit of history.
Best guess.
So best guess, and this relates to my experience in the banking system. It would be the Bretton Woods, or the 1944, when the world decided that war over gold and land needed to stop. Okay, and World War II was the last world war. Okay, since then it's been economic demolition and reconstruction. Okay, any of these other aspects of demolition that happened, and fianchetto, as I call it, which is the loss of lives in the process, has not been war. It's been, in my mind, it's demolition, and it's there to just keep some kind of an economic idea in people's minds of paying for weapons and then paying for reconstruction after you blow shit up with the weapons, and it's just, it keeps the slaves busy and keeps them distracted from the truth, which is there's no such thing as debt, no such thing. And that structure, when it came into being in about 1944, I'll just say that year for a basis, had some benevolence to it. Don't get me wrong. There, a lot of times when groups start something like this, something new at that big level, and we could be starting that now. I'll go into that more later, because my QFS is different than the QFS that most people relate to. Okay, so QFS is the reboot in most people's minds, and I don't know if anybody else talks about it in the same sense that I do, but I'm going to talk about it. But first, let's just do the history thing a wee bit more again and say that, the group that was at Bretton Woods that decided to stop warring over land and gold and assets that way started with a pretty good process. Okay, it was pretty good. And then it just kept getting infiltrated, and these governments, these mind control organizations came in and started to say, yeah, but, and they do their thing, right? And most of them run by just gangsters, obvious in the US, but in many countries the same thing. These governments are run by just gangsters and tyrants, right? So it became harder and harder to police, because who has the police? Who has the soldiers? The governments. Okay, and they are the ones that just kept using money to do weapons and create weapons and destroy things in that economic demolition process. Another game that they played, just over to try and gain power, okay? Not control, because they could never control it, because they know, just like you and I do, that God is in control, okay? And that's why there is still good things happening in every part of the world, despite, economic demolition or this hoax that's going on now. There's still goodness. There's still life. There's still
Of
love. There's
course.
still,
Yeah.
yeah.
Everything has to coexist. There's still a balance in all things. There's counterbalance in all things. Counterbalance. There has to be. So there is as much light as there is dark. There is as much joy as there is whatever is the opposite of joy. What's that word? Can't think of it right now. I'm on the other end. But there's always the contrast of things. So the push and pull, or we'd be right off in the weeds, but it's just in different parts of the world. There's more of the evil, I'll call it evil, at play right now than there is, that's apparent in some of the things. So not to get too off topic, but to back up the history a little bit for people who are curious, because I've done, a fair amount of research in the area of the covens. Let's talk about the covens. I'm not a witch, but I've been asked, for obvious reasons, and the answer is no, I'm not. However, I have done lots of research. So and also because I was raised Catholic, I've done lots of research about when did the story of all that get so hijacked. So it's been a long time. It's been centuries since the hijacking of our righteousness, let's say. And so about 200 years after the death of Christ, the whole idea that Christ came with and was sharing was uptaken, which was the first original Cathars, got wiped out essentially by the covens and the pagan stuff. And so that is trade. That is how trade's been monetized throughout the centuries. So if people want to check out more about that, you certainly can, because money has been tied to church and state for millennia. Also, there's always been the brokering and bartering, and then making things worth units for sale. And that's been for eons now. So you can check that stuff out by doing your own research. You can read, a good resource is, let me think, the Babylonian mystical cult, or Babylonian mystical religion. And you don't have to be religious to read it. You don't have to have been raised Catholic to read it or to get a further understanding. But that's where these families came from that you're talking about. The ones that actually manage everything now are not of the last just 100 or 200 years. They've been around a very long time. And when we talk about terms of wealth, like people go, oh, Jeff Bezos is totally wealthy. And you and I've talked about this on the show. It's like there's people with quadrillions of dollars, or whatever 32 zeros is. Was that you referring to that? But yeah, so the 32 zeros behind the bank account is actually the last name of the family is the Sassoons. So that one's not hardly ever talked about, but that's the last name. And they are in relationship with the Rothschilds. That's who they're, and no one even talks about them. But when you talk about Bezos or you talk about the Bilderberg families, those guys are kind of, level 3. Then you got your level 2 folks, which is de Rothschild, and who's the other ones that are at that level? But they're kind of that 13 banking families. Then you got the level 1ers, and probably I shouldn't even be saying their name, but you know who you are.
Yep.
But this is where the money is. And so people go, where's all this corruption? Why is that happening? And to your first point, which is when people have lots of wealth, they play. They play games and they're playing games and they're doing whatever, but they have a moment every single time that they are making a decision about playing something, whether it's going to be a play for the good, the light, or if it's going to be false light, if it's going to be good and for the best of mankind. So it doesn't matter what all the decisions have been up to this point, which is your point, Randall. It doesn't matter what all the decisions have been up to this point. If somebody decided that's living in that world that they actually wanted to change their life forever and get on the side of humanity. Or maybe even 2 pats on the back for actually being a really high contributor to um, this sovereign money creation. That
Yes.
they have an opportunity every single moment to just turn their dial to the frequency of love, truth, trust, giving, and that's where we are all love. We're divine. We pinch ourselves off from it a whole big bunch. And when you're getting into the shenanigans that some people have done, they figure that they can't ever be forgiven. Or whatever. Yes, there's some darkness that happens there where they get trapped in their own crap. So that's why I don't mind saying coven. It's like people, it is the season to talk about it in that terminology. But there are things that people feel like cannot be forgiven ever, that they're just, but I think everything can and is through the redemptive process. And we need to give people an opportunity to do that also. And
Yes.
ourselves. It's like, because we screw up, folks.
Yep. It's the first place to start is to forgive yourself. And then once you realize what it's about and how it works, then you can keep going.
Mm-hmm.
I had to move. I was sitting on a rock and my ass was getting cold. It's fall here. So I moved to a tree now. So I'm sitting on a tree. It's warmer.
Yes. So let's get back to the banking thing. So I just wanted to take the history back because I do think people are like really don't see it past like it's this last 6 months. It's so much longer ago, but that doesn't mean that it has to take 200 years to fix it or 500 years or 2000 years to fix it.
Yes. So let me add to what you just said, because you had a very good description there of some of the families that have this high amount of wealth, right? So the banking families are separate from that, and they'll use the word Rothschild, but it's more of a word than a name. Some have adopted it as a name, but it's more of a word. It's the royal children or other words like that are referring to. But there are top 12, some say 13 banking families. The top of the top being Bauer, okay? Bauer being the family that claims, I'll say, I'm not going to say owns because I don't like that language, but they can maybe if they want, but claims Barclays Bank.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a document that was shared with me by a man who basically threw his arms up to me and said, take this fucking shit. I don't want to deal with it anymore. He is the most intelligent man in the Bauer family, runs and revised their common law pure trust, which is an amazing 400-year-old document that I've participated in. I am a lord according to that common law pure trust and the sovereignty certificate that I have due to knowing this man. Does that mean anything to me? Well, it means I need to take some responsibility for having such a title. And, if I'm going to use that title, then I'm going to connect it to the Lord Jesus Christ. And I'm going to think in terms of forgiveness and love and compassion and healing and things like that, which was a little bit different than the way they thought about it. But let me go on. So Lord Grantham Taylor Hughes, Bauer Rothschild, Baron von Brochwich. You can look all this stuff up. Those are AKAs, but he's on the web. And the man taught me, and he has a benevolent side to him, like every human does, every one of us. Okay, I don't care who it is. God is in them. There's no avoiding it. Okay, there's no avoiding karma, and there's no avoiding God. You can try, and they could try to do it on a multiverse level and drive it into our brains, but they can't succeed. So this man saw through it himself and wanted to change things. He had some beautiful ideas. I won't share those. If you want to look him up, you can see him on the web. He's got radio podcasts and stuff that he talks about his ideas of how to change this structure. But he taught me so much. And so these banking families and their non-orthodox banks, okay, non-orthodox meaning off-ledger funds, okay, not the on-ledger typical banking that we think of, okay. Barclays has a bank in the on-ledger side too, which is I think number 7 in the top 100 of the world. all of those top 100 banks are influenced by these families, obviously, and the non-orthodox side, right?
Yes.
Does that make these banking families the bad guys? No, I'm not talking about bad and good here. I'm talking about structure and how it's set up. And once you get your mind into that, to try and get rid of that bad guy, good guy thing, there are covens, there's no doubt.
Mhm.
They're above the governments, they're above the Bilderberg family, and they like to play the games because they just play. That's what they do. And they don't have the kind of caring and compassion that a Christ conscious human would have. They have their own kind of odd religious cults that I've been involved with and seen. I've had my eyes on them. I've participated in some of that stuff just so that I could get into the dark myself and realize it. Okay. So, and it was all part of my process as an individual to learn all of this stuff and now to try and translate it for people, to try and teach, if I may, and translate it, because my language is not going to resonate with every human being.
Right.
It's going to be more challenging for some than others. A lot are just going to say he's a fucking idiot, or oh, he's a CIA himself, or he's a dark side, or I've got all that shit thrown at me throughout the years. I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter what other people think. I know what I know. And I know I'm a Christ conscious man, and I know I'm here for good for all. And so do they. Okay. And they've tried to stop me numerous times. I've said this to you on other shows. They've given me threats and stuff. This is secret society stuff. You do not need to be doing that, and cuss me out and everything. I'm like, fuck, come up here and get me. I live in Calgary, Alberta. Here's my address. I don't give a shit. God protects me. I know that you'll suffer karma if you harm me. I just know how that works. So you can't do it. And it's not even as if you would want to, because you know in your hearts that this is going to free you. It's going to fill your heart with joy to see humanity finally lifted up. You think we're a bunch of dumbasses? No, we're not. We can look after ourselves. We can be responsible. Mankind can be conscious and kind because it's inherent in us. God is inherent in us. We can't stop it now. And I'm never going to stop it. And
Yeah.
I'm going to keep teaching people and training people and trying to keep that good guy, bad guy image out of it at the level that I work at, and say to you, we're shifting it. Okay. So I'll stop again, but then I'm going to tidy up a little bit more on that QFS stuff after it's your turn, my dear.
Right. No, you go ahead and clean up. Because I do think that, yeah, it's like the flow and the momentum around the money issue for everybody is really critical right now. Because there is so much stuff coming through, people are really going, where's the money? Where's the money? Where's the money in my bank account? And every country in the world is experiencing this sort of yawning gap, I'll call it. So some people who are really well off or who've done okay and have put money away, they're able to do this home stretch run of, if the quantum financial system doesn't come through till February or March or whenever it is, then they're not worried about putting food on the table. There are a lot of other people, though, who are concerned about it. And suicide rates are up everywhere. So I do think the important message around money is about how do you be resourceful.
Okay. I wasn't gonna go into that realm too much today.
Oh.
So I'm gonna kind of, but I will for a second. Okay, Leah,
Yeah.
because that's where this current idea of governments comes in. Okay.
Right.
So, in Canada, they've been just doling it out in different programs, right? And I say to people, take it, please take it, and think of it as yours, because you're the creator of it in the first place as a sovereign individual, every human being.
And if they can give $400 million away to other countries, which was just announced, $400 million, it's fake. Like, we don't have any money. Canada is broke. We're flat ass broke, man. Look at anyone looking at the stock market. Every country in the world is flat ass broke.
But that's again the deception.
So funny.
Don't forget.
But I mean, that's the funny part, because debt is a fiction. That's what I'm trying to get at, is that debt is a fiction, and it has been for forever. So I completely agree with you. Debt is a completely made up construct of, yeah.
But how easy it is for us to go back into the language of saying we're broke or we're in debt. You know, it's just on the tip of our tongues because we've been programmed for so long. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to correct you. I know you were talking the same language as what I'm
Right.
speaking when you said that. You were trying to explain that there's no limit. You know, we can give $400 million to some other country. Of course we can, because
Right.
it's just created out of autographs
Right.
on a manifest. Okay, it's manifested, and that's how money is created. I
Yes.
don't like to use the word created though, because it's still, when people think of it in that way, then it's still deception involved. So it's creation comes when you get to the point of what I'm going to talk about in terms of unlimited funding, not finance. Okay,
Yeah.
so the academians, I coined this word, I don't know if it even is a word, but the academians want to still argue with me and talk about quantum financial system. And everybody's got their own version of how complex this is and how we can do this. Academians, one guy said to me, yeah, well, they're academons. I said, no, 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 don't go there. We don't want to think of them as bad people. They've just been indoctrinated to a certain level too. And they've got all these wonderful stories with, you know, Charlie Ward is coming up with stuff, and Charlie Freak is coming up with stuff, and you name it. Other people talking about the quantum financial system and trying to keep it complex. Okay, take it. As the guy said to me, Bauer Rothschild, take it. I don't want it anyway. I have my own story, and it's quantum funding system. Okay, funding, because there's no limit at the top. There's no limit to money. So all we have to do is go through the banking system in that sovereign S fashion that I've
Right.
discovered and or not discovered, but discussed with you in the past, Leah, and fund projects. All those projects need to do is promise. Okay, promise one thing to my eyes and to the eyes of the other people that are going to be the flow companies that are doing this. Okay, I'm set up with that already. Common law pure trust, nonprofit organization. I will never own anything. I will flow through to projects. Okay, but those projects have to be promising that they're going to do good for all. Okay, that's simple. Promise to God that you're
Right.
going to do good for all.
And
And
here's
look
this,
me in the eye, look
yeah.
one of our representatives in the eye and say that. That's the promise. It's not a promise to pay back. No, you don't pay back because you're getting it funded through an unlimited system, a
Mhm.
monetary system, a quantum funding system. You were going to say something, sorry.
I think that this is where the tweaking of language again is, it's an interesting thing, because when I started my businesses, I always made my companies limited for profit. I'll tell you why though, because I had lots of people say, don't you think you should be an NPO, like a not-for-profit? Because I teach health and wellness, and doesn't that seem like, and we have, there's vulnerable people that are in my client base. And I said, no, because the reason why most people do an NPO in the day, now this has got one of the things that needs to change, right, is because they are wanting to be able to access grants and write for particular grants. But what I could see in NPOs is people paying themselves a shit ton of money, a lot of money, and getting access to these grants. And I went, that is just, and they know they're doing it too. It's offside. So I went for profit because in integrity, I went, well, I'm making money. I know I'm going to make money. I know I'm going to pay myself. I also know that I give an enormous amount of money out. So there's always been that flow through my for-profit business. And yeah, so I just want to say that's an interesting little thing that we'll have to migrate through. I mean, as a people,
Right.
migrate through the systems and the terminology. So but it's the intent, though. It's the intent of the for-profit or the not-for-profit about whether or not those funds flow through to and for the good of the individual. Because if you're using that money for things that are not good, you look like and feel like the HE double hockey sticks. I'm such
Right.
a color, but when you're
Exactly.
flowing that money through you or the resources through you, and they are going to your best and highest good, and they are going out from you to the best and highest good, that's when you get in that delicious, the Christ conscious, delicious, everything is in vibrancy, everything is in alignment, everything's in harmony. And sorry to amp on it, but I want to just point the distinction out, because people who have for-profit businesses, it doesn't mean that they are that's a bad thing. It's this, or that not-for-profits are all pure, because oh my Lord.
Of course, Leah.
So back
you
to
know,
yours.
I'm talking more from my
Yes,
perspective, okay?
beautiful. Yeah,
Conscientious capitalism or for-profit
yeah,
companies or whatever, that's language.
right.
And and the intent is the key,
Yes.
because every time we've tried this in the past, and numerous times people have tried to get into nonprofits and stuff, and then the cabal, which is in every single human's brain, it's not something that's outer, it's inner as well,
Yeah,
is
definitely.
there challenging us. Oh, but I could have two Maseratis, you mean? You mean I could own a house in Jamaica and let the fucking thing sit there empty, and live in this other house at the same time, and then have another and another? That's the kind of cabal that is in everybody's brain, that temptation to just be greedy and to hoard, right? So of
And to
course
not
we got to.
attend, and to not attend to the small details in our lives, because
Correct.
you can get somebody else to do it for you. This is where kids get at risk, is, and then
That's okay. But we know that stuff, Leah, and it's not as if we're ignoring it today. We're just trying to stay
oh,
on a
yeah,
on a track that is exposure of this monetary system today. Like you say, we know that. You and I know the problems, and I don't stand for them any more than anybody else. What can I do at that level? I can only let the people I trust look after that, because I have my
right.
position. So once again, I'll just go back to the quantum funding system again,
Yes.
and how that funding will flow through a company like mine. Was I at a point, even up until this latest thing came around, of still thinking in terms of funding for a project that I'd be involved in? Of course. And will I be somewhat involved in some of these projects? Yes. I'll be there to help and assist or whatever, in whatever business fashion I can give. But I'm not going to step in and say that our or my, it's our, because there's three directors on both the nonprofit and the um, um, common law pure trust.
Right.
So I'll say our. Will we have ownership of any kind in any of these projects? No. Will we have a certain amount of managing director kind of uh, positions? Yes. So, you know, I don't want to judge anybody other than those that have been hoarding and those that want to think in terms of hoarding. I'd judge you. I'll say, what the fuck do you want to do that for? Like if there's an unlimited supply at the top, like share your house, do like Leah does, bring in some people, like whatever. There's lots of creative ideas of how to have things and
Mhm.
not own them, or have them and not, consider yourself the lord over them. Like it's just it's a mindset that's going to shift, and it's going to be challenging for
Mhm.
capitalists that have thought that way in our Western civilization for so long. And I see it already, and a lot of them are challenging me and saying, you're a fucking socialist. No, I'm not. I'm a creativist. I
Mhm.
don't come in either category, in socialism or in capitalism. I'm a creationist. That's why I feel as if I've been guided to my role as this flow company to flow the funds from the unlimited top end of this thing, which, call it top or the outer level or the inner level, whatever you want to call it. But there is a source, and that source is unlimited because God gave it to us, and it's unlimited. And then we just eliminate this idea of debt. If that has to stay in place for the quantum financial system for a while, go ahead. I'm not having anything to do with it, or I'll have something to do with it. I'm
Sure.
sure it'll lap over, but I'm in the quantum funding system. So that's a different setup. And it is just simply funding flowing through to people who promise to God, to promise to everything else that what they're going to do with that money is good for all.
Right. Yeah. And I love it. I love the creative energy of it. I do love it. And I appreciate it so much. And again, I come from a community development, for profit and not for profit, both sides of the fence. I've worked for many years and grew up in a small town. Like people pulled together to get projects done, just so I understand the language that you're speaking. And I also think lots of people, it would be a foreign, it's like, what's this guy talking about? So it's important to continue to educate about what it actually means and the distinctions between. But I also marvel at the creativity that we all have, that everyone has had for the past however like long, getting the system in place. Whatever the systems end up being, because again, going back to video number one, it's not about creating or destroying anything. It's about creating, and how do we add on and make things better and refine and revise. And that really is about it, no matter what project people are working on, whether it's you or Charlie Ward or Charlie Freak or Sasha Stone or myself or Bob and Doug down the street,
Mackenzie.
whoever it is, it was always about, where's the next good bottle of beer, right? Where's the next good bottle of beer? But really,
that, don't
we're
you?
amazing. We're amazing. And so when we can kind of get out of our own way and look for the golden opportunities with people and see the goodness in people, all people, see the goodness in them, and just to keep trying to draw that little bit out and encourage people to see it. I brought a mirror out for my episode on Master Your Life this week. I brought a mirror for, I do a little exercise because it's live. So it's like I get people to look in the mirror and to sing a love song to themselves. Pick any song that you like that you want to send to somebody else. And
There it is.
Instead of sending it to somebody else, look at yourself in the eye and sing the love song to yourself and see if you can actually do it. See if you actually love yourself. Because that's an interesting little thing. And go, yeah, okay, where's this positive self-regard coming from? But just, it's an amazing, everybody is so amazing and creative and lovely and divine. So I appreciate that you continue to bring that in every episode when we chat, and in all your own episodes too, Randall, that you do in your interviews. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
There you are.
Yeah, we slowed down a little bit there. I don't know what happened. But yeah, it is. Look in the mirror, because God is in the eyes of every human. That's namaste means I see the God in you. So see being your eyes, right? So whether you're looking in the mirror or looking in someone else's eyes, make eye contact. Like make eye contact with people, and you'll see the God. The truth, whatever you want to call it. Like, in China, when I used to go over there and meet with these government officials and stuff, they used to get us drunk. I'm like, what do you need to get drunk for? Just look me in the eyes. I'm going to tell you the truth. Right. I don't need to be drunk.
Yes, same. Yes, exactly. And when people avoid eye contact, it's something else that whatever they're working through. But if you need to, I always come back to the lessons for yourself. If you're avoiding eye contact with yourself, you might not even have looked yourself in the mirror, really in your eyes, and thought, what do I think about this being? Because this thing here is just a shell. It's your like earth skin. It's not anything to do with who you actually are, because there's a lot of people who look really horrible outside and they are the most divine souls in the world. And then there's people who look gorgeous and who just are like so closed off, so shut down. Don't ever assume anything by the package somebody is in, really, or yourself. Like if your body is destroyed because of whatever you've been doing, take a moment to look yourself in the eye and love yourself back into health and wellness. Everybody can do that.
So let's take that back to banking for a second,
Yeah.
because there certainly was an aspect to, like, when I was in my capitalist mode, I had a freaking business plan this thick, executive summaries. We were to the max. I spent thousands, hundreds of thousands of my own dollars to put together multi-million-dollar proposals to banks, and they'd still bring you in to have that eye-to-eye conversation.
Yes.
But they weren't telling the truth. That was the problem, and I could see it in their eyes, the banker's eyes, when they'd say, well, they're trying to figure your business plan out for one thing, and that's so full of shit. It's not even funny. I mean, anybody that can predict 2 years down the line what the hell's going to happen with business when the stock market and every other aspect of business is fucking manipulated is just insane. So
Ding.
anybody that's going to ding, sorry, anybody that's going to tell me that they read through my 2.5-inch thick executive summary and understood it, and they think they have a better idea, or not executive business plan, give me a break, So that was the first bit of deception. But the biggest deception, obviously, which I learned through that process of being involved at high level business deals and then backside of the banks to see how money is created out of nothing, or not nothing, autographs led to gold, PB, primary banking, through the autograph, AU, the gold, to secondary banking, which is anti-money, which is antimony in the periodic table, all that stuff that we play with on some of my videos. If
Yes.
someone wants to go back and look at, it's just so bloody plain and simple that they just made up these little pretend rules and created debt out of nothing.
Yeah.
It's not as if they created the money out of nothing. The money was always there. There's always an abundance. It's the debt that they create out of nothing. That's where they manifested the whole idea of guilt and payback and crap like that in the monetary system. Manifested the illusion of debt. The illusion of debt. Please, I can't say that enough to people. I'm having some better discussions lately, even on LinkedIn, with business people who are asking me, what do you mean? Well, think about it. Okay, think about it from your academia position. What in the hell is debt? Who in the hell are you in debt to? It's digits, or it's paper. It's very little paper anymore. It's just digits. And it's digits that are manifested by a piece of paper or some agreement. It's got nothing behind it. And then now let's just go quickly to the QFS quantum financial system, how so many people are talking about gold backed again. Okay, you guys, come on. You know that gold is unlimited too, that silver is unlimited, that we can actually chemically produce gold now. The Russians are doing it all the time. On top of the unlimited amount of it that flows through the veins of Mother Earth under the Rocky Mountains, probably right below me, like on this earth. And it is a biological aspect of Earth too. So it just keeps creating itself. So going back to gold standard and stuff, if you have to redeem your government bullshit, if you have to redeem the banking idea in any way by doing that and going back to some gold-backed quantum system, quantum financial system, go ahead. I'm not stopping. And get the fuck out of my way, as I said again, because I'm not stopping. And there's more people that are listening to my words and hearing me, that we don't have to deal with this illusion, this bloody, stupid notion of debt, because there is nothing. That's just bullshit. Sorry, there's a little rant.
That's all right. That's okay. I don't mind the rants. I don't mind the rants. It's all right. And so like a really solid example, and I know we need to wrap pretty soon. So just when people go, I don't get that. But a solid example is when you go in for a mortgage and they give you money to buy your house. And then you, for some reason, default on the payments, they get your house. So you had a fictional thing, which you never had in your hand ever, which was that money was never in your hand. And the bankers all played with it. And then they got your asset. They took your real world asset and they're just like, oh, sorry about that. But it just is just like, that's something that people go, oh, right. When I signed that loan, I didn't ever get that money in my bank account because maybe I would have made a different decision. So that 7 for whatever, 100,000 or million, whatever it was that your house was worth. Yeah. That's
perfect.
It's a funny little trickery. So anyway, that's that little story. Cause I went, that was the one where I really got it years ago and went, that's right, man. If I had had that money for something other than a mortgage, I would have done something completely entirely different. Like, but that was just what we did, like lemmings. It's like, get a house, do that.
Yeah. And it's, you
Yeah.
know, it was a beautiful little story that they did. And most people
Oh,
have a
slick.
house, you know, because of it.
Yeah.
Most people have a house, but they're slaves to a debt system on top
Right.
of it.
Yes.
So before we let's let's tidy it up and say,
Yes.
you know, that some of the things that we've said may bring a little bit of anger to you, that you've been deceived again. But now go to the next step, okay?
Yeah.
And say, okay, now that we now that we understand what Randall and Leah are talking about, let's go to that godly space. Let's please join me this week as the full moon comes around. I think it's 3 p.m. today, which is still light out, but there'll be a full moon somewhere just a little bit
Right.
over out of sight, viewing sight, and it'll come in tonight.
Right.
Last night, it was so perfect. It was in my window of my bedroom as I was laying. I could see it out the window. It was so perfect. So I did some mega, mega work last night on the
That's
spiritual
great.
level.
Yes.
And I want you all to join me and Leah in that. Okay.
Mhm.
Do a meditation today and tonight, anytime you want. Like there's so many people doing it at different times. It doesn't matter. I'm not
Mhm.
specifying, but know that the last remnants, the last people that are desperately clinging to some of these illusions. And it's not one group, there's all different groups that are clinging because they know they'll lose if their other group loses, and all that kind of loss and that fear that's in their minds. They're going to be desperately clinging to their old ideas of harvesting the loosh on the harvest moon. So let's go in there. Let's go in there with our minds. And
Mhm.
even if you're not thinking in such a complex manner as I think about it, and you're just thinking, I forgive them. I love you. I'm
Mhm.
sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. That kind of language, just something simple, but give them that kiss on the cheek. Say, we forgive you. Now move out of the way. We're
Mhm.
coming through with quantum funding, and no one is going to suffer on this planet anymore, including you who are in the covens. With peace, harmony, love, abundance, and freedom for everyone and everything every day on my mind. Abundance, sovereignty, health, love, and euphoria. Let's
Euphoria.
go get her done.
Thanks, Randall. Let's go get her done. You guys all have a wonderful week. And yeah, let's just end on that. Love you all. Bye for now.